What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the BallGame podcast. I am the innocent bystander, Matt Sullivan.
I'm Trunks.
I'm Chris.
As you can see, two people missing here, but we do have a very special guest, and I will allow you to introduce yourself.
Oh, well, thank you. I said this last time I was on a second show with somebody. Thank you for the second date. I think this is right. I think this is the second date.
So, it is the second date, yes.
So I'll say that every time I come on a show for a second time. I appreciate the opportunity. Very excited to talk about the draft. I'm not able to do any draft content, audio, video, so before the draft. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity. So thank you. I'm Trevor Everett. I'm from the Two Pointers Podcast. I also write house-enterprise.com, NBA and college basketball content on the NBA draft. So very busy this time of year. I love it. I'm very excited for free agency. I know we're going to talk about some other NBA stuff today. So thanks for the opportunity.
Sure. Also, I mean, yes, we asked you on a second date, but you had to say yes. So we do appreciate that.
That's a good point.
You did have to say yes. So we do appreciate that a ton. You're very in tune with college basketball and the draft overall in general. So it's going to be great to have you on and talk a bunch of hoops. Obviously, as you said before, we are doing a mock draft episode. And by the way, before we get into it, this is what we would do with the picks if we were in these teams' shoes, not what we think is actually going to happen, because these can be two completely different things in this scenario. So this is, again, what we think is going to happen, not what is actually possibly going to. Well, what we yes, English. What we would do in their positions rather than what we think will actually happen.
There it is.
Oh,
let's go.
God.
Let's go.
Oh, my God.
Let's get it.
All right. So in the 2023 NBA draft is now open. The San Antonio Spurs are on the clock. Trincali, you start us off.
I am the San Antonio Spurs today. I have a very tough pick here. Thought long and hard about it, but I'm going to go with Mr. Victor Wembanyama, future GOAT.
What a shock. What a shock.
This pick was obviously decided before we even knew what the order was going to be for this draft. Whoever got the first pick was going to take Victor Wembanyama. The Spurs got lucky enough to get him. Good for them.
Congrats, San
Antonio.
Good for them. Yes, sir.
I love how he just left that at 30 seconds. There's really, at this point, nothing to be said because literally Brian Windhorst is in France at 2:30 in the morning asking him how he's going to enjoy San Antonio, what he's going to bring to the Spurs next year. So
whatever needs to be said,
shocker.
There's nothing left that needs to be said for Victor. It's all been said ad nauseum. If you don't know who he is, you're not paying attention to basketball.
It was insane scouting him. I won't lie. Like watching his stuff, it was just some stuff I've never seen before. Some of the stuff he pulled off.
It's scary that he's 7'5".
It's crazy.
It's just scary. Part of me at the same time just feels like they're just setting him up for failure.
Yes,
I agree.
It's scary, you know.
Just some of the I think there's a levels to the comments too. I think you just have to know that saying he's going to be the best player in the NBA in 2 to 3 years, that's setting him up for failure.
Yes.
Giving him expectations, depends on the expectation. Making multiple All-Stars, whatever. We all make those kind of comps and comparisons when we're doing scouting. Chris, I'm glad you said the word scouting with him because I had a conversation with somebody in the NBA a couple months ago, and he basically was like, "Look, I stopped scouting him months ago." And I go, "What do you mean by that?" I'm like, "Tell me more." And he was like, "I only watch his film to enjoy it now." Because I've reached the point where I'm wasting time on other guys. I'm wasting time scouting him, truly evaluating him as a prospect. Not saying he's not grown since October to now as a prospect. He definitely has. He made a great point. He's like, I'm wasting time not evaluating guys in the second round, right? If I'm watching Victor all the time and watching all those games over and over again or spending too much time on his film, how can I, be better at looking at these guys that I might have missed later on? So that's how I treated him from January on. Was every time a game would come on, I'd watch it. I would not really deep dive him in any form or fashion, and I don't regret it because I'm about to watch hopefully 15 to 20 years of his life. So
yeah, there was not really much deep diving to do. I was definitely watching, especially the playoffs. It was so interesting too, just watching the game over there. It's such a different game than in the NBA, and obviously with Beal, we'll talk about him at some point coming up. But with him soaring up draft boards, there was a reason to watch. But he's just so impressive, Victor. Really not much to be said on both ends of the floor.
Yeah. The only scary part for me is the fact that he is 7'5", and the biggest, I feel drawback from Victor is the fear of injury. So I pray to God that that never happens. I really do, because we could be witnessing one of the greatest of all time, honestly, if he just stays healthy. So, all right, here you are, Trev. You're on
So
the clock.
you mentioned to me right before we started that I had a really tough choice, and for those that have been following me all cycle know that for me this is not a tough choice, but I'll land the plane with this. I don't leave breadcrumbs often, but I'll leave this out there. My source inside of Charlotte was MIA the last 3 days, as in did not answer any questions I put out. So just want to say out loud that the unpredictability factor is still completely there. I know what the betting odds have done a couple of times. I'm pretty confident that he's probably going to go, but just don't be shocked with anything, because at this point, if we are 2 days away and, I'm getting the silent treatment from somebody I trust, I don't love that. So I'm just going to put that out there as like a leave that one as it is. I'm taking Scoot Henderson, who I do think they will take ultimately, and I am taking because at the end of the day, when you have two opportunities here, or an opportunity here to pair two guards that ultimately we've seen the catch and shoot stats all over Twitter probably by now. LaMelo shot, ridiculous from catch and shoot last year. Yep. Limited opportunity, right? But we know that that's something he is a lot better at, right? I'm not going to spend forever on this. I've been saying it all year. I think they should take Scoot, or whoever gets two should take Scoot. I don't think it should be a conversation. I'm willing to have that conversation, but ultimately, when you have a chance to take a guy that cares this much about wanting to win and wanting to be an impactful player, I think that's got to matter ultimately when you're Charlotte. And obviously, the change of the ownership is, it hasn't happened officially yet, but you know how funky things can happen when we change owners, and we know things might go all over the place. So I don't know what they're going to do ultimately, but I would take Scoot if I was, whoever we're talking about here, Mitch Kupchak in this case. So I would ultimately take that and just take the pedigree.
Agreed.
He's been, like, for the most part, for the college season, the G League Ignite season, all that, he's been the second overall pick. And then I feel like Brandon Miller kind of just sneaked in there in that second spot once the draft lottery happened.
It's also because of the way the NBA is trending more so too. I feel like I think that obviously with the NBA, it's leaning towards bigger wings. I feel like they could do a lot on the ball, off the ball, and stuff like that. But yes, they're obviously, in terms of prospects, it is not a question who is the second best player in this draft, and that is Scoot Henderson. But I think the only reason that Brandon Miller is even in question is because of the adoration of big wings in the NBA at the current moment. That's the only reason, in my opinion.
Yeah, to the point Trunks just made, it was a little bit strange, especially because Brandon Miller didn't really play that well in March Madness. Yeah. And you think that would be the reason for him to move up on people's draft boards, but it didn't really matter. People still moved him up to number 2. So it was a little bit strange. But like you guys said, Scoot was number 2 the whole time.
Yep.
So
sometimes we like to overthink and we get bored in this process, between April and June, and we get too much. I say every year, I'm like, look, I know normally when there's a fire, if you look out your window and something's on fire, there's going to be smoke, right? Sometimes there are things called smoke screens, and we see all kinds of stuff throughout the year. This is teams throwing out bait and this and this and that, and I think that has a lot to do with some of the Brandon Miller stuff.
I mean, last season we had Jabari Smith as the number 1 overall pick until hours before the draft. So things change.
Yeah,
things change, and things come out that aren't exactly true. So here we go, 3rd overall pick, and it's pretty clear.
It's pretty clear. With the 3rd overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft, the Portland Trailblazers are selecting Amen Thompson from the Overtime Elites.
Solid.
Amen's been number 3 on my draft board for the entire cycle. I just think a team like Portland, you could say, well, you draft Brandon Miller because of the fit with Damian Lillard. Fuck the fit with Damian Lillard, TBH. I don't know if he's going to be there. So if you have a prospect like Amen Thompson, who's one of the most electric prospects I've ever seen, you draft him for the upside. He's an athletic freak of nature. His feel for the game is off the charts with insane playmaking instincts, and he projects to be one of the better perimeter defenders in the NBA. To me, it's a no-brainer pick.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. All right. So the Houston Rockets, I'm the Houston Rockets, and I think it's pretty clear the guy fell to me. The 4th overall pick, I'm taking Brandon Miller. It's tough because I was going to take Amen if he was here, because obviously at this point you kind of need a lead guard, and Amen has proven that he is capable of doing that. But with Brandon Miller falling in my lap, I have no choice. I think that he's an incredible talent. He has honestly miles ahead in terms of his development as well. And I mean, being 6'9" and capable of creating on the ball and being as good of a shooter as he is off the ball, I mean, it's hard not to pick him. Even though it's not the team need, it's hard not to pick him. So that's the 4th overall pick for me.
All right. So the 5th pick. Saw we were talking about trades before, right? The you have the other Jazz pick, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. What are you thinking about that?
I want to trade it.
You want to?
I think Utah needs a blue chip prospect right about now.
We're referring to 16 on this, not 9, right?
Yes. Well, 9 and 16 in this case, yeah, to move up.
Yeah.
They also have 28.
I know, yeah. I have that as well. So if you're Detroit, because you are Detroit, are you accepting 9 and 16 to move up to 5?
Which is a rumor I have seen
Yeah.
circulating the past 2 or 3 days.
Are you accepting 9 and 16 to move up to 5?
While you guys discuss, what I've been seeing is that Utah potentially wants to trade up just so they could jump what's that team at 8? Washington. So they're able to draft Anthony Black.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. That's what it'd be for.
I feel like there's another guy here that fits.
This is also Danny Ainge we're talking about, so any of this stuff could be complete and utter.
All
what I talked about earlier.
untrue, yes.
So.
Completely. You're completely right. So.
While you're thinking about it,
yeah.
why would Detroit do it? Right? Like, why
No
would
reason.
what is Detroit?
reason.
There
That's
is
what
no
I'm.
reason.
Okay, and just thinking out loud, I know this is what we would do, but this is just talking through a mock. Like, why would Detroit do this? Right? Like, there's clearly somebody that they would value here, right? Like whether it's Jarris or Cam or whoever you're about to take if you don't take the trade, but
I feel like
whether you would or Houston would, or whether you would or Detroit themselves would, but just sometimes with these trades in the lottery, which I know this year it seems like that something's going to happen, and it sounds like multiple somethings are going to happen, but I think Detroit's just in a position now. Why don't they just? I mean, it's going to matter if they get to 5 and something weird happens like this, where there's some available stuff. They're going to have to really believe in somebody like Cameron Jarris to not trade.
So let me ask you guys a question, because you two know more ball than I do in terms of college basketball and stuff like that. I've done my fair share of research, and is it entirely out of the realm of possibility that at 5 Detroit wouldn't be open to taking Taylor Hendricks? I mean,
absolutely.
In terms of like, I know that the rumors are Cam Whitmore, Jarris Walker, all that stuff. Why not Taylor Hendricks? Like, what about him? And I'm saying, like, obviously, I know we have a glut of big men, but he's capable of playing on the wing as well. I think he's the perfect 4 next to a guy like Jalen Duren. Perfect, honestly, especially with Cade and Jaden Ivey. He's a shooter. He's great on defense. I mean, I don't know. I think I know you have Bojan, but
I've thought for the whole I'm not a big Cam Whitmore guy. I'm pretty sure he's 10 or 11 on my board, but once I found out that Detroit had the 5th pick, I thought it was obvious from the jump that he was going to be the pick, Cam Whitmore. I just think playing with 2 dynamic playmaking guards with Cade and Jaden Ivey, that covers his lack of playmaking, Cam Whitmore, and he's such a dynamic scorer on the ball and off the ball that I just think the fit makes too much sense.
okay.
I like Taylor Hendricks a lot as a prospect. I have him higher than Cam Whitmore on my board. I just think the fit with Detroit, Cam Whitmore just makes too much sense.
It makes too much sense. It's either Cam Whitmore or I'm going to trade the pick. I think I'm going to stick with Cam Whitmore, though, just like you said, his scoring, playing next to guys like Cade and Jaden Ivey, not needing to play make like that. They already have 2 guards. I think it fits perfectly.
Is that who you would take if you were Detroit?
Yeah, I would, because they need more shooting, and he just makes a lot of sense.
Fair.
So
understood.
So you're taking Whitmore?
Yes.
Not trading the pick.
No.
Make sure I heard that right. Here's what's so beautiful about the draft, to answer your question. And Chris made a lot of great points there. And I'm actually way higher on Cam than he is, and I still think and I actually question the off-ball ability more than it sounds like Chris might. And I think that's why the Detroit fit, I would at least think twice about it. Cam and Taylor are 1 spot ahead and behind of each other on my board. So for me, it would come down to, do I think Taylor Hendricks is a better fit? And I ultimately wouldn't cry about either if I was the one making the Detroit pick, or if I was Detroit in general. I do think Taylor is probably going to benefit as an off-ball scorer more because he can shoot the 3 a little bit better. He's able to move without the ball, I think, a little bit better as well. I also buy what Hendricks can bring to a team like Detroit. Mentioning same vein of thinking that Chris was talking about with the playmaking, though. Like, I'm just not as sold on Cam's off ball ability, but I also am sold on his motor. So I don't question his NBA future because of that.
Fair enough. Got it. That's the only reason I was looking at all this stuff and I was like, yo, like I personally think Taylor Hendricks is like the perfect fit in Detroit, in my opinion. From what I was thinking from the pre-draft process that I was doing here, I was just like, I just personally see it as a great fit. But yeah, I mean, you guys are right. Cam Whitmore is a very good basketball player. So it's up to you now, Trev. So
I knew this was going to happen, and I'm really annoyed because now I'm going to do something that's honestly against my own thinking. But I think Taylor Hendricks is a beautiful fit in Orlando. The problem is, if we're going off what we would do, right? I always talk to people about this. I'm like, what big board I would put out publicly versus a big board I would put out publicly if I worked for an NBA franchise. If I worked for an NBA franchise, I have Casey Wallace at number 3 because I think that would keep my job. But neither here nor there. I have Jarris Walker at 3 on my board, and I have most of this cycle up until about early February is I think when I made that final. Just this is what's happening. Problem is I don't love the fit in Orlando as much because I think it would clog a little bit.
Yep.
So I'm going against my own self here, and I'm really annoyed because I really love Jarris and I really want to take him, but I also, spoiler to my mock draft that's going out tomorrow in written form, I took Taylor Hendricks in the same spot, but it did help that Jarris Walker was already off the board. So whoever's picking behind me is going to have a really happy chance here of getting him in a fit that I think makes more sense. I think Indiana, is the pick after me here at 7. And whoever's got him, you better sprint to the podium because I think, honestly, Indiana would be happy with either of those guys. And if there's a chance they don't have to move up for either of them, that's insane. And I agree. I think Jarris is gone in the first 5 picks, but I also wouldn't be shocked if we're in the same predicament here in 2 days. So long-winded. I'm gonna take Taylor Hendricks because I think that would be a beautiful fit. Him and Franz can play the 3 and the 4 interchangeably. Paolo can play the 4 and the 5 interchangeably. It creates so much more lineup flexibility and versatility. I'm also not shocked if they take a guard and we're all like, whoa, okay, no, they took a guard at 6 instead, or if they don't move. I'm not going to trade these picks. I think Orlando's not in a position to be trading unless they're trading back to get a guy. At this juncture, with having Taylor and Jarris there, they wouldn't do that. So I would take Taylor Hendricks.
Agreed. So question for you. Who would the guard be?
Personally for me, or who I think it's going to be if they surprise us? That's a better question.
You personally.
Personally? I would go off, I guess, I would go Casey Wallace because it's the highest guard on my board left, but I wouldn't be shocked with Asar. I wouldn't be shocked, who's not really a guard. I wouldn't be shocked with Jalen Hood-Schifino either.
Agreed. Okay. There you go. Chris, it's all up to you now.
With the 7th pick in the draft, the Indiana Pacers are selecting Jarris Walker.
Yeah, it wasn't even a question.
Yeah.
I know. I figured I gave you I feel like I put that one on a silver platter and was like, hey, here's why I would have been an idiot for swapping these picks. So please take the guy that should have been picked.
100%. Jarris Walker is just a really, really, really good prospect. He's such a versatile player. I put out a tweet a few weeks ago that I see a lot of Aaron Gordon in his game. A lot of people are giving him a Paul Millsap comp, but either or, whichever comp you want to give him, he's just a guy who could play the 4 that just offers you so many different things. I mean, I'm sure everyone who's been around the draft cycle knows that Jarris Walker's playmaking abilities were not on full display there in Houston. He has a lot more to his game than what he showed in Houston. And a team like Indiana, where he's playing with a dynamic playmaker with Tyrese Halliburton, that's only going to help develop his offensive game. And we know what Jarris Walker is giving you defensively. He's a pretty above average rim protector with positional versatility to be able to guard out on the perimeter. So I think it's a great fit there in Indy.
And he's got a 4 spacing big with Miles Turner next to him. So there you go. All right. So now I have the Washington Wizards with the 8th overall pick. And I feel like for me, you just got to stack up as much potential here as possible because, like, you're kind of out of options now. In my personal opinion, Asar being there still, you just got to take the best player on your board. And right now, I feel like Asar is the best player on my board. And I'm just going to say, if I was Washington in this case, I'm running up to the podium and I'm taking Asar Thompson.
Completely agree. Yeah. I was going to take him if you didn't take him.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, he was. The Wizards just need building blocks now. Just take the best player. You can't go on fit. There's no fit anymore.
All right. So I'm up with the Jazz, right? I feel like the Jazz are in a spot where they could take pretty much anything. Like they don't need any big men, obviously, but they could use wings, they could use guards. And being that, like the Wizards, I think you take that player highest on your board. I'm gonna go with Anthony Black. He's a really good defender, good playmaker. I think that's something that Utah could use next to Laurie and Walker Kessler. I think it'd be a good fit for them.
I love him.
Yeah,
Anthony
he's-
Black.
I like
him.
Anthony Black a lot too.
Trevor doesn't.
No, I'm not even gonna. We talked about it on my pod, but I'll say this: this is the thought process for me with the Jazz. Is Anthony Black is there? They're 1,000% taking him, even though Danny Ainge is not exactly a guy that has ever historically drafted on fit, right? So it's somebody that I would not be shocked if any combination of guys here, but he's probably the first guard taken. If you don't count, I mean, Amen's a guard, I know, but he's more of a wing, I guess. Positionally is what I. For me, it's who you guard, and I think he'll guard wings, but. Although I don't like it, to give Chris the credit, although I don't like Anthony Black, I understand why people like him. So I understand the position the Jazz would be in, where they're going to start shocking people earlier than people think, just like they did last year, and keep winning. And Anthony Black would help them continue to do that. So
Exactly that. I'm going to build off that point. He's just a winning player, in my opinion. The jump shot and self-creation is obviously lacking, but the intangible stuff, the defensive side of the ball, he's great. He's a really good pick and roll ball handler, and just his playmaking overall is just exceptional in the open floor, in the half court. He's just a winning player.
especially the fact that he's just a big guard.
Yeah.
The league, I feel like, is coming to that consensus that that's a better option than the smaller guards. So I think it'd be a good fit.
Agreed. All right. Who you got, Trev?
you are putting me in these funky positions. I said it before the draft. I said it before we started that this was going to happen, where I was going to get in these positions of teams that I already don't have the best answer for, no matter what. And obviously, I think Dallas has made it clear they're probably not picking Grady Dick. They've put out, the fact that that was even a thing that was floated should surprise us. But the way I look at, and this is why I love the ones we would do, right? Like, I absolutely would take, based on my board alone, I would take Kasem Moss. He's the only guy left in my top 9 that hasn't been picked yet. Problem is, it doesn't make any sense in Dallas, and I think he gets stuck, behind figuring out what the situation with Kyrie looks like. I think he'd be a fine backup point guard for Dallas, but if Kyrie Irving, I don't know, the situation's just up in the air, still too much.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, based on what I would do, I have all these guards left that I don't think are going to help the Dallas Mavericks too much. So
here's my question: why not trade it? Would you be open to it?
I wouldn't, because Dallas, I think, needs, unless this is in a bigger deal that I'm not thinking about right now, that we would have too long to figure out right now.
Fair enough.
I could see them trading it. I really could. I also could see them reaching, and I don't want to reach, because I ultimately think if this is what I would do, I wouldn't reach down my board, even though there's guys down my board that I still like. But there's too many guards in this fluctuation of people that I would be reaching too much for a guy that I think fits here. So I'm going to take Keontae George, because I do think he is at least good enough to be able to be a versatile positional defender that I think is going to be able to slide just below there and play off ball. We saw him play less off ball at Baylor than we thought. The other thing is his playmaking flashes. His playmaking flashes at Baylor were really good, a really good assist turnover ratio for a guy of that usage rate. At Baylor as a freshman, asking a freshman like that in an offense like Baylor's to be so focal is almost unheard of now, the way Baylor does their style. So I think he can at least be a strong enough defender that he's going to stay on the court early. The problem is, I wasn't willing to take any other guard that I hope keeps falling. So please let these guys keep falling to me, because I have some picks later on that I'd love to take some of these guards. And I'll be transparent later once I get to those picks if they're available, who they are. But I also, if I was just going off my board alone, I would take Keontae George.
That was a shock. I was planning on taking him here with my next pick, but
I think it's pretty obvious who's taken now.
He's gone now. But everything you said about Keontae George, I completely agree. I think he's an exceptional prospect. I think he fell down people's draft boards because he played the second half of the college season injured. But like you said, he showed a lot of defensive potential, in my opinion. He's a microwave scorer, and I think the playmaking is a lot better than than people give him credit for. So
I really
like that
I
pick.
really enjoyed doing boards earlier this year. So like I normally would do them later in the cycle, but I started doing them in January 1 to June 1 now, or at least June-ish, something mid. I think I put it out like June 7th or whatever. But Keontae, for the most part, was anywhere in the top 7. Like he was 4 through 7 for me. And then he ended up at 10. I'm going to make sure I got that number right because I'm on the other screen. He ended up at 10, and that sounds like he fell, right? But like for me, he fell because the guys ahead of him, there's something that is going to keep them on an NBA floor. I look at NBA floor. What are you going to do for me? What is your one NBA skill that's going to keep you on the floor? And at least with Keontae, his is a combination of things. All the guys ahead of him, there's at least one thing that screams at me that they'll stay on the NBA floor with. So that's why the Dallas fit makes even more sense.
Sure, I'm in a predicament here.
I love that because I want it to start getting weird. It's already gotten weird. Jarris is not falling to 7, to be fair.
No, probably not. Probably not. He's probably going to Houston.
So I'm on the clock with the Orlando Magic, the 11th pick. They selected Taylor Hendricks earlier in the draft.
Indeed.
I'm torn between two guys. First guy, I think he's an obvious one, Mr. Grady. He just gives them shooting that we all know the Magic need.
Like he's a super
Suggs
safe
dick.
pick.
Yeah.
Suggs and Dick. Yup.
And
together.
the other guy is Cason Wallace. I mean, it's pretty nuts that he's on the board right now, in my opinion. But the thing with the Magic is they have Markelle Fultz, and he was so good for them last year. Do they need a point guard?
I think there's a better guard available, but I'll get to that if he keeps falling.
Yeah. I'm not even looking at that. I know what you're talking about. I'm not even looking at him.
You have him that high. Huh.
But
It has to be one other guy, right? Oh, there's two actually.
Thank God we're not doing 9-minute clocks.
I just think the fit will get weird with Fultz, Cole Anthony, and Jalen Suggs if they take Cason. So I'm gonna take Grady here.
Let's go.
They put
Let's
them
get
together.
it.
I will not be shocked at all if this happens. I really
All right.
It has to happen.
I just feel like now that I'm the Thunder, this is not what I think. It's so tough, bro. All right, my fault. I don't know, man. This one's tough. All right. If I'm the Thunder, I'm taking Derek Lively at 12. If I am the Thunder, I am taking Derek Lively here. That I feel like is the obvious choice, especially for them. They played their playing game with not a single big man. Chet is obviously coming back, yes, but I think obviously as a 4, Derek Lively is a safe prospect, or at least a decently safe prospect, with the potential to grow a little more and improve his jumper as we go. So yeah, I think I would personally take Derek Lively here at 12. So that's my pick for the.
I like that we're just like hopping right into this. I love that it's like you didn't even think about it. I think that's.
I would have made the same pick.
It was obvious to me, honestly.
So I'm the Raptors now with
this pick is obvious too. I think
13th pick. Is it?
I think at this point, no pick is obvious from now on.
That's true.
It's like there's still a guy that is supposedly gotten a promise in the lottery, and there's only 3 spots. There's only 2 more picks left before he gets picked, and I don't think any of those is obvious.
I feel like, in my opinion, he would be going to Oklahoma City. Personally,
I'll get to that in a second. I have the last pick in the lottery, so if he doesn't take who we're talking about, then I'll explain my thought process.
Yeah, I would love to hear this.
All right. So I'm the Raptors now. I'm gonna go with a 3-and-D player. I'm gonna go with Kobe Buffkin.
Yeah, I love this. I love this. I'm in.
Yeah.
Love that.
I really like Kobe Buffkin, honestly.
You put me in a predicament because now I was going to take him at 14 if he was there because I think the Pelicans would have loved that. So I'm glad. I'd love that. Love that.
Yeah, Kobe Buffkin's a really good player. I think he has a really high floor. He's one of those guys who I think he's like pretty obviously going to succeed at the NBA level.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
When I was watching his film, I thought the exact same thing, honestly.
He just does everything good.
He's a jack of all trades, master of none.
All right.
All you, Trev.
New Orleans, right? I'm taking the team that literally, from everything that's been put out there, Zion could be gone in 2 days. So let's just throw that out the window. I'm not trading Zion. I'm not doing any of that stuff, right? So
About to say, let's make a trade.
I don't want to be the guy that makes a trade, and I think New Orleans is too obvious, so I'm going to leave it alone. But really quick on Bilal, because I'm not taking him because it obviously doesn't make any sense here, right? So we're breaking the thought process that he's probably a lottery pick. I talked to somebody I trust the other day, and they go, use your brain on Bilal in the lottery. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, basically look at the first 11 picks and tell me where he's getting that lottery promise. And I go, okay, that's fair. And then he said, look at New Orleans. I go, okay, that's fair. He goes, it's literally Oklahoma City or Toronto. And, I think the trades are going to be what determines whether his promise comes true. So I think it's becoming more likely that unless a team like Utah takes him at 9 and we're just floored by that, or they drop back 2 spots because Dallas is clearly not going to do that, I think he's probably more than likely going to fall out of the lottery, which is not a bad thing because I think he's still a good first-round pick this year. I didn't have him ranked in this class at all until late April because I didn't think he was going to commit this year, and I just think the buzz became too hard not to. So that's my soapbox there.
All potential.
Going off my board and what I would do, I think this fit makes sense. I do think there are some players here. I think there's a lot of guys here that would make a lot of sense. You need a guy that's going to contribute to a quote-unquote contender. We're going to leave that word out there lightly. But I would take Jet Howard here. Jet Howard, I think the size and positional strength for what he brings as well as a shooter, I think they can play, and I think it'll be really unique for the type of offense that they run, especially if they keep Zion.
I like that pick.
Okay.
Again, based on what this is why I love that we're doing what we would do. My board is currently being picked off. So, every guy in my top actually, let me take that back. So, out of the top 4, out of my lottery on my board, there's still 1, 2, 3, 4 guys left.
Okay.
So this is good. Again, let them fall. I'm good. Keep letting them fall. I want them. I like these guys. These are my guys. I want them to go to these teams. And again, someone has to fall. People are going to realize that. Look at the guard rotation this year with Anthony Black and Casey Wallace and Jalen Hood-Schifino and Keontae George and Kobe Buffkin and Jordan Hawkins, Anthony Black.
So many.
Someone's going to fall. They have to, right? Not all these teams need point guards or guards in general.
In the 20s is going to get an absolute steal at point guard.
So anyway, that's my soapbox. I will take. I don't even know who I took. Jet Howard.
All right. With the 15th pick in the NBA draft, the Atlanta Hawks are taking Gigi Jackson from South Carolina. My guy. I think he's honestly fell. He might not even be a first-round pick, so maybe not fell. But in my opinion, he fell. I have him as a top 10 guy. I've had him as a top 10 guy this whole time. I think a guy that's the youngest in the draft class with that much shot-making potential, he's worth a near lottery pick. I think the fit in Atlanta is pretty cool because they need wing scoring. I've always thought Atlanta has needed wing scoring. So yeah, Gigi Jackson might not be ready right away, but if he develops into what I think he could develop into, that's a really good second or third option next to a guy like Trae Young from the wing position. I mean, listen, he struggled a little bit in college, some people will say, but again, he was one of the youngest players in all of college basketball last year. He was a guy who was number 1 in his class and then reclassified. I just think there's no reason he shouldn't go this high, honestly. I think teams will be making a mistake if they let him fall.
Great case. Can I defend you in the comments? Because I know the comments are going to destroy you as soon as that pick gets made, right? Because I'm with you. I'm at 13. I know you said top 10 or 10, but I'm with you. I only said wow because I didn't think any of us would take him that early. I think we would continue to let him fall. So I'm glad that you did. I just don't love the Atlanta fit as much. That would be the only thing I would say. But again, you throw enough wings at a wall, someone's going to stick. Atlanta keeps doing that. I just don't know if they're going to be as patient with him as we would want him to be, because ultimately they're trying to win because they understand that Trae Young and DeJounte Murray and what could be John Collins, what could be Clint Capella and some other things. They're trying to win, and I don't know if he's ready just yet to just walk out there. I look at the NBA playoffs every year afterwards, and I go, who could I have seen in this draft class that would have absolutely been playing in the Eastern Conference or Western Conference Finals? Obviously, I don't think Gigi Jackson would be doing that quickly, which I think Atlanta is trying to get back to there quickly. So
yeah, I just think at this range, there's
you throw a dart.
That many guys for them that would be like you look at a guy like Casey Wallace who's still on the board. I do think they can contribute to winning basketball, but they don't need that. So
I'm with you there.
Who did you take with the first Utah pick? Anthony Black?
Anthony Black. I have him written down if you need it. I have everything through this pick written down if you need it.
Awesome. All right.
Last
Damn.
few picks were Derek Lively, Kobe Bufkin, Jet Howard, and GG. We're up at Utah at 16.
Thank you. All right. This is what I would do. And I know you just took Anthony Black, but again, I think Utah's another team. It could use either a wing or start building out that guard rotation, especially now that Colin Sexton apparently is available for trade. I just think it makes a bunch of sense for Cason Wallace to be the pick here to Utah. In my personal opinion, it was between him and Jalen Hood-Schifino. Those were the two that I was thinking of the most.
I think JHS has to be the pick there if they already drafted Ant Black.
I know. I love
neither
him.
of them, but that's neither here nor there.
But that is the pick, in my opinion.
Wow.
That's who I would pick.
Again, I told you if I was an NBA GM, he was 3. He's going to be 3 on my board because he keeps my job safe. So I don't hate him anywhere in the top 16. So
yeah, he's a
had to.
winning player.
Anthony Black is so weird though. That's I can't get that out of my head.
That's so strange. Anthony Black and Cason on the same squad.
People have been fighting and arguing over those two this whole year. Imagine they end up on the same team. Good grief.
That would be something.
Ugh.
There was another one.
Lakers.
Here I am. The Lakers.
This is big for you.
Please make a good pick. Please make a good pick for the Lakers.
I feel like this is.
I'm between two guys right now. All right.
I'm interested to see who you take here because this. Honestly, if I'm the Lakers, I'm happy with the way this board has fallen. Kind
I
of.
am too. I think there's a guy though that.
Yep.
I think there's someone that's sitting there for the taking that
that
would
makes
be
perfect
happy.
sense there.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm thinking of him, but
if you don't take him, he's probably not going to get taken for a while. So he'll probably start sliding.
all right.
You're right. Honestly, yeah. It's either here or nowhere. It really is, honestly.
Am I forgetting someone?
You probably are, because if you're looking at like certain draft boards, he might honestly not even be high.
All right. You know what? I'm just gonna go with my pick that I was thinking of before. I'm gonna take Nick Smith Jr.
It wasn't him.
No, I figured it wasn't him.
No, but I would not be shocked either with that if that happens.
I agree. I agree with that.
He could do pretty much everything offensively. He showed flashes for playmaking in college. I think he could be really good in the pick and roll with Anthony Davis. He's a good scorer, something the Lakers obviously have needed the past few seasons. And he's got to connect. He's with Clutch Sports, so I think
that makes sense.
It makes sense.
I don't know.
Yes.
I'm not the biggest Nick Smith guy personally, but
I like Nick Smith. He's another guy like Keontae George who played a lot of the season hurt, so it's hard to evaluate. But Nick Smith, like you said, Trunks, he could score in bunches. He's bigger than he gets credit for. Pause. Like he's listed at 6'5", but he has kind of like slender man arms. Like I don't know what his wingspan is off the top of my head. Yeah, he has a nice little wingspan to him. So I like Nick Smith, especially to the Lakers.
Yeah.
Yo, Trev, I gotta ask, were we thinking of the same guy?
There's a contender and two. I mislooked at who was behind him. I'll share if he gets picked. I'll share. I'll tell you who I was thinking when we get there.
Got it.
Because I think the fun part about not talking about these guys and actually saying names out loud is that we're all like actual GMs. We just happen to be sitting in the same room, so it's kind of weird.
Exactly.
I don't hate the pick of Nick Smith. I have him lower than that, but as a Lakers fan, I would not be floored if that happens because I like the clutch idea. Good.
I have
good
Nick
call
Smith
out there.
a good
That is a
chunk
good call.
lower than that.
The rim finishing is just atrocious, and it scares me, and that's
why I don't love him.
All right, I have Miami at 18. So everyone and their mother is, after watching them make the finals as an AT, is going to be like, they're going to take a win now player. Like, you have no idea what Pat Riley and company are going to do. Let's just be upfront about that. Not a clue, right? They didn't want to pay luxury tax for Bradley Beal, who we'll get to in a little while. But if they have an opportunity to take a guy that they probably have high because of sheer intangibles, I'd be floored that, because they took Jovic, right, 2 years ago or last year, whatever year that was at this point. My head is spinning. But they should have taken a win now player if they've got a window with they're going to do what they feel is best and feel it fits their system. And Bilal Koulibaly's raw potential is who I'm taking, because I think the Heat are going to put him in the right place. They're going to bulk him up, and he's going to be an unbelievable guy with a rumored 7'3" wingspan on a 6'6", 6'7" frame. I mean, the kid's explosive, one of the most explosive players I've seen in a long time, and I really like him, and I think the Heat would love him.
And they're so good at developing players.
There we go. Bilal Koulibaly. Don't think he falls past 18 in this draft.
Agreed.
Another tricky situation for me here at 19.
I don't think it is. This is where me and Matt, is it Matt, right? You go by the innocent bystander so much, I forgot your name.
Yep, you're damn right.
Throws me off. So I think this is the other team. After this team, though, if the guy we're thinking on the same page about potentially, he probably falls even further.
I agree.
We're probably on the same page.
Because it's probably going potential from here on out.
It's Golden State. I'm going to take the best shooter in the draft class. I'm going to take Jordan Hawkins.
There it is. That's who we were talking about.
Yeah.
It literally is Golden State. It's Los Angeles, and then after that, he's probably not getting taken until Sacramento or Memphis.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
I just think what Jordan Hawkins could do. I mean, he was probably the most impressive player in March Madness. He probably rose his stock the most in the whole tournament.
Yep.
He was incredible, and just the off-ball shooting ability is off the charts. And you plug him into that Golden State system, like it's a match made in heaven. I'll let you guys know the other guy I was considering. I don't know if anyone's gonna plan on taking him anytime soon, but it was Kobe Jones from Xavier.
Yep.
I have Jordan Hawkins a lot higher than him on my board, but I figured he'd be gone by now. And in every mock I've done, like I've thought Kobe Jones to Golden State was another match made in heaven, just with his ability to do everything on the court. So that was my dilemma there. But Jordan Hawkins definitely the pick here.
I love that. God, I love that.
So, Houston. Funny that you mentioned Kobe Jones, because that's my pick with the Houston Rockets.
Wow.
I know that they would go on upside, but they need a steady playmaker for this team right now, if I'm going to be entirely honest. And there are so many guys that I could take based on upside right now, and I understand that. But in my personal opinion, they need a smart basketball player that isn't just raw potential to place around a basketball team that just doesn't know what they're doing half the time on the floor. So that's why. And he fits off the ball. He could shoot. So taking Kobe Jones.
Okay.
It's just tough considering you took Brandon Miller earlier. They've such a logjam at the wing position now.
Tari Eason, Jabari Smith,
Jayshawn Tate.
Love a 30-year-old I love a 30-year-old third-year player as much as the next guy.
Jayshawn will probably get traded soon.
God, I hope so.
Me personally, with the Rockets pick, I mean, the way this draft has gone, I thought JHS was the clear pick.
I honestly entirely forgot. He's so far up my board that I didn't realize that he was still here.
He's not anymore.
Oh!
At 21, the Brooklyn Nets are taking JHS.
Damn it!
No, man. I was going to take him at 22.
It wasn't because he said it. I was going to take him. Anyway.
I was going to take him at 22 if you didn't. So we're GMs together here with Brooklyn.
I didn't realize.
Oh yeah, the Nets have both picks anyway. So
you're right. Exactly. I was literally going to take him if you didn't. So who were you going to take otherwise? Just curious. Since honestly, we're going to have to be co-GMs here.
I wasn't really sure yet.
You're like, it was a done deal.
Honestly, I was
done deal. I got you.
Pretty much. I really wanted Jordan Hawkins before, but then Chris took him.
You should have taken him with the Lakers pick.
Well, no, I didn't want him for the Lakers.
No, Nick Smith made more sense there. I'm good with that.
So yeah, that's my pick. JHS.
Okay.
He's a playmaker.
Fuck.
Yeah. So. Where are you going with your pick? Where were you thinking?
For transparency's sake, that's the guy I'm absolutely floored is still there at 21.
Yeah.
I have him at 11. I've loved him all year. I think his versatility, which is why I couldn't believe Golden State would have taken Not Golden State. Who was it that just picked before that? Houston. I just like if Houston leaves the draft with Brendan Miller and Jalen Hood-Schifino, then like the arrest rate in Houston will go up 25% that night. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like I'll fly to Houston and contribute to that, right?
Yes.
So the problem is, I actually wanted to kind of move the second pick, but then the second Brooklyn pick, excuse me. But then I looked back and I'm like, if we're not getting weird with seconds and other players and stuff, if we're literally just trying to trade the picks, I don't think it makes any sense. So why don't they just swing on stuff? Same analogy with Atlanta that I'll say with Brooklyn. Throw enough wings at the wall, somebody will stick. And if I'm going off what I would do, I think Dariq Whitehead is an unbelievable player that should not fall, even though the surgery people were misunderstanding. This is the surgery that we heard about previously that we knew he was going to get, but it sounds like he finished the workouts, then got the surgery to then get himself into training camp. So I think Brooklyn, they're just in a position where they need to just take talent because they're going to be kind of stuck in a weird draft capital position in a few years with some of the Houston picks going out, some of the other picks going in with Kevin Durant and Phoenix. Phoenix might be at least good enough after they traded Bradley Beal. So Brooklyn's going to be a bottom dweller in the draft community for a while, and I think that's going to be to their detriment. So I think you just have to take value versus trying to trade back here. I was going to if you didn't take JHS, but I was going to figure something out there. But Dariq Whitehead is my pick.
Got it.
15 on my board. So again, for me, going what off I would do.
Great value, yeah.
Yep.
Man, I'm in another predicament.
I think we've
I have
completed my top
no
18.
fucking idea who to pick here for Portland.
My top 18's done, so we're good there.
So I took Amon with Portland's third pick. Now at pick 23, we're going to take... Man.
There's no bad choice here, to be fair. They're probably moving this pick if they don't move 3.
Yeah, honestly,
I do agree with that. I think they need to move both, though, if they trade for someone. Trade Dame, though. Please.
I love that this is in a predicament. You're in a good predicament, though, because if this is what you would do, then just go with your gut. But, like, if this is what we were predicting, I'll be honest with you. I have no clue what they're going to do at 23. I just have zero shot here.
If I was Portland, I would have traded Dame by now, and I'd be picking based on potential.
Oh, actually, I have. I
honestly, bro, this might be a little bit of a shock. I'm gonna take Trace Jackson Davis from Indiana here. I think Yusuf
makes perfect sense.
I think Yusuf Nurkic could potentially be on the move, and TJD is the prototypical big man in the NBA. He's another guy whose playmaking skills weren't on full display in college. I thought he's a well above average playmaker for that center, power forward position, whatever he is. He's an exceptional shot blocker, and we know the way he could score the ball inside. So that's the pick.
That's been mocked more times than I can think in the last month, and it makes me nervous. But I love that.
It makes a lot of sense, honestly.
You said they have mocked him there?
I've seen it mocked plenty of times with people that have information. That's not me, basically. So I've seen it, and I'm like, oh gosh. So I think there's some validity to it if they try to continue to build around Dame.
You know, Chris, you put a certain player in my mind a couple weeks ago for the Sacramento Kings here at 24, and so I decided to watch his film. And I was incredibly impressed with his defensive abilities. What I would do here if I was the Sacramento
Kings. Can I guess? Just based on that description alone, can I guess? I have no idea I have no idea the conversation y'all had. James Najee is probably who I thought you were.
It's not. It's actually not. But that is it makes sense, but I don't think that they need a big necessarily. So for the Sacramento Kings, what I would personally do here is do everything I can to trade for OG Anunoby, in my personal opinion, because I do think that makes them a fringe title contender, personally. But since that's not the case here, I'm taking Ryan Rupert with this pick.
This is what you would do, right?
Yes.
100%. Okay.
Yep.
no one's saying anything, so I'll just say that if you have the opportunity to take a guy who actually does fit your team well, and he's a twin brother of one of your best players last year, I just don't know how Chris doesn't get. If Chris is available, they're 1,000% taking Chris. Like, let's just be upfront.
Think so?
Me and Matt had
100%.
a conversation. He was saying they should trade
100%.
for OG Anunoby, and I said, well, honestly, because he was talking about they might have to include Davion if they trade for OG, and I said I'd honestly rather keep Davion and draft either Chris Murray or Ryan Rupert. So yeah, but I agree with Trevor. If Chris Murray's on the board, they're taking his ass 100%.
Yeah. I mean,
but I like the Ryan Rupert pick. I think he has some of the highest defensive upside in the class on the perimeter. So. And they lack perimeter defense.
Yeah, he's 6'7" with a 7'2" wingspan. I mean, that
Goes back.
Defensive upside is absurd.
I like, again, going back to what they would do. Looking back at the playoffs thing, like I said, he wouldn't play a minute if they went against Golden State.
Probably
That's
not.
the issue.
They
want to win.
That's why I'm saying I wouldn't even make this pick. I personally would have traded it for OG by now. I think he's the missing piece for the Sacramento Kings, in my personal opinion. I've been saying this since last season. I think they need to do everything they can to trade for OG. That's just my opinion, though.
Okay, so you took
Ryan Rupert. Yeah.
Making sure I read it down. Right, Rupert. Memphis. Who's up here?
I'm up with Memphis.
This is fun.
So with Ja out for 25 games, I think they're gonna need to add a playmaker. I'm gonna take Brandon Podziemski.
Podziemski.
Podziemski. Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. He's a good shooter. He's a good playmaker. I think he fits their team right now, especially with Ja out. I think they need someone who can get in there. Yeah. Who get in there right now and immediately give you production. And I think he's the best fit for that.
I think they need wing scoring, brother.
I was about to say.
And there's a guy on the board who projects to be, if he's not going to be anything else, he's going to be a wing scorer. So
as president of the really low on Brandon Podziemski club, I understand why you made the pick. I have him at 44. So
I think he has a lot of translatable skills. Like, I think he's going to be a decent NBA player. I just think for Memphis, that's not the pick.
Think about the promotions, AirPods. Think about the kind of promotions they can run with him behind Memphis. How cool would that be? They got some really fun marketing coming up there. I hate this draft so much because this is what I would do, and none of this stuff makes any more sense.
That's what happens when you get down to these picks.
Yeah.
Well, and at the end of the day, if this is what I would do, like, there's like 74 guys I would take before some of these guys here that make more sense with the fit, but you've got to flex a little bit here. Like a guy I've got a guy at 19 and 20 on my board still available, but they don't make any sense for what picks I have left, to be clear. I think there's some great fits for you guys. I'd love to see where it goes. There's a couple fallers here and there. There's a couple guys that I think it's going to be surprising where they go for some of y'all. But, dang it. I have two guys left that I just absolutely adore. And I have two picks, and I do think that they interchangeably would fit between both of my picks left. The problem is I don't know which one makes more of a fit sense. Indiana needs... They need less right now. They don't need to win right away. But I don't love the fit of the guy that makes more sense for them to need right away. Dang it. Y'all put me in such a funky position.
Yeah, this is an interesting pick.
It gets very odd, yeah.
Again, the what I would do thing I keep coming back to, and Indiana doesn't, I mean, they don't need this, but if they trade Buddy Hield, he could play sooner. I think there's places that are going to put him down further of the bench. You know what? I'll talk myself into it. I'm taking Terquavion Smith. I got to watch him 1,000 times more than anybody in the draft cycle this year, other than anybody that covered him here in Raleigh with me. But unbelievable scorer. I think there's a fit between wherever I am now, 26 and 30, that I think makes a little bit more sense. I think it's pretty obvious who I'm talking about. But at the end of the day, Indiana isn't going to win now right away. Like, they could probably win 30-something games next year. I don't think they're going to be in the 40 to 50 range yet, but they can kind of let him play in the G League some, bring him up some if there's some injuries. Buddy Hield, like I said, we don't know if he's going to be on the team in X amount of months. So Traquavion would be a really fun piece to be moving off the ball and scoring with Tyrese Halliburton as a point guard. So I like him. And again, if this is what I would do, I have Turk at 20. Most people have him somewhere in the 30 to 45 range. So I'm happy with it.
Love it.
Okay. So I'm on the clock with the Charlotte Hornets at pick 27. Another place where I'm pretty torn here. Actually, nah. It's a simple pick. I'm going to take Maxwell Lewis from Pepperdine.
Okay.
I think he's one of the best shooters in the class. I think he has a lot of scoring upside, not just as a shooter, but just in terms of scoring the ball. I think he's a guy who could be on the court with Scoot and LaMelo at the same time. So, yeah, I'm going to take Maxwell Lewis.
Fits the perfect mold. They throw guys like him in the G League for a year. They never play the rookie. I'm clapping my hands, by the way, the entire time. I didn't want to be loud in y'all's ears or the listeners, but I love Max Lewis. I have him at just one spot ahead of Turk at 19. So, again, either Turk or him were going to be great fits and great picks. So, love Maxwell Lewis. They're going to literally not play him a single minute as a rookie, probably, just like they did Bryce McGowan's. And it would be a beautiful marriage in 2 to 4 years. Love that.
All right. So the last pick here is Utah. And they've taken Cason Wallace and they've taken Anthony Black. Probably the weirdest draft of all time.
So take I don't know. There's no more guards left that actually make sense.
I'm taking
Marcus Sasser. There it is. I was scrolling down my board as fast as I could to look for a G. I was like, "Where's Marcus Sasser?" There he is.
All right. I think they're pretty set in the front court. I think we keep going in terms of just stacking up guards or wings.
Wings, yeah.
I'm going with Bryce Sensabaugh.
Yeah.
Because
I don't hate that.
he's a bucket.
Oh, man.
A bucket. And even if he does nothing else,
That was bad to take.
even if he does nothing else, he is a bucket. And it is that simple. So Utah could use that on the wing as well.
Oh boy.
Well.
Yeah, they could use everything right now, so that's good. I love that.
Well. That was my pick.
I do think he makes more sense in Indiana, for what it's worth. But
That's fair.
I don't blame either.
Whatever.
Of them picking him. He's not falling out of the first round. So
No.
I'm glad he got picked. I don't love him, but 21's not loving him either.
21 is way great value for this pick.
Yeah, again, that's why I would have taken him probably just out of sheer guilt. but at the same time, there's some guys that just, sometimes you have a board, and that's why I can't wait to hear what gets picked here. But sometimes you have a board and you can deviate away from it.
30 at the clip with the Clippers is going to be interesting. I want to hear that from you.
Oh,
in a
yes.
second, Trev.
Did anyone take Kobe Jones?
Yes, he's been picked.
Oh, my goodness.
Took
I
him
can
to the Rockets.
Let's see. The last few have been Ryan Repair, Sacramento. Memphis took AirPods. Indiana took Terquavion Smith. Maxwell Lewis to Charlotte. Bryce Sensabaugh to Utah.
Wow. Both of my picks. Okay.
Pivot.
All right. Yeah. Got to pivot here. All right, we're going potential here. Give me Tariq Whitehead.
He already got picked.
Oh my God! Yo.
When you said potential, I raised my hands because this guy is not making it out of the first round. There's a pick that Indiana's been mocked all cycle, and there's a guy. I said him earlier. You want me to? I can put it in the private chat if you want. I think I'm like Indiana's other pick.
Just tell me.
Just tell him.
Here, there it is. I said it earlier. I'm Indiana's GM with you because I had another Indiana pick. So I'm trying to
Oh, well, Chunks isn't in front of the computer,
Oh.
but I'm in
Just
front of the
say it.
computer. James Najee.
Oh, okay. Sure. I'll take James.
He's so good.
I'll take
Oh man, I have to
Talk
find
about a
these
long
records.
boy.
Yeah, let me.
That is one long boy.
Really fast.
That's pure potential. If we're talking about potential, that's pure potential.
Is there anybody? I didn't mean to do that, but is there anybody else you would have taken? That you liked?
Bro, the three picks that I wanted were taken. I no, not really.
Here's his official measurements that were sent to NBA teams on Sunday
This is fucking
from
crazy.
James Najee. For those that haven't heard them, for either the three of you or anybody listening, his official measurements that were done in a supervised environment according to NBA protocols because he's been overseas for a while. 7 feet in shoes, so we're talking 6'10" ish.
10-ish, yeah.
6'10" and a half ish probably is what I would think. 7'7" wingspan.
Yep.
251 pounds. And a 9'4" standing reach.
Oh my God.
So I know this is not 1995. I understand that, right? If that guy alone on measurements would have been a top 7 pick in 1994, 95. Got it. Like, we all understand that. But like, Indiana learning from Miles Turner, Tyrese Halliburton. Think about the standing reach for a second. He could throw him a lob that's a 1.5 feet above the rim, and he's going to catch it and be able to put it down as an 18-year-old. 19 next month.
Your front court of the future is now Jarris Walker and James Najee. Like, what?
God, who's
You have
Oh my God.
and you just drafted Turk Smith. Like,
I would want a job in Indiana so fast.
round of applause for Indiana.
So look, we had to work on. We had a couple of picks together, right? So I wanted to throw that out there at you because I'm like, I just don't see how a team sees those numbers and believes in his production in Barcelona, what little it was, and is just like, yeah, nah. I just don't see it happening. So, and I'm not taking him to the Clippers because it literally makes 0 sense for the Clippers.
no sense at all.
They've taken young guys before like that. They've done those kind of picks before. The Clippers have, but it just neither here nor there. So.
Jason Preston.
Love Jason Preston.
Oh,
Yeah.
Love that guy.
Fucking court, bro. Hate that.
He has a commercial.
He does have a commercial. All right, what you got, Trev, to close this thing out? Clippers, man.
So, they need to win, right? There's a window with Kawhi. We know that. There's a window with Paul George. It's
here.
The door. Yeah, I was gonna say the door is literally like, someone's got their foot stuck in the door, and that's it, right? As soon as that door moves, they open a new arena and they tear the whole team down, which is going to be really bad for Ballmer's wallet. So this is the thing that they need to win with, right? They need a wing, they need a forward, they need somebody that's going to just give them some insurance, right? Even if they all play, this is a guy I absolutely could watch the playoffs next year and see him play, and I wouldn't be floored at all. I think a lot of the world would. I have him at 27 on my board. Most consensus, I think ESPN's consensus, he was like 58th. So this is definitely a large range of difference.
Yes.
And you know exactly who I'm about to say. Chris knows exactly who I'm about to say. If
Let's
this is what we would do and I have an NBA job, Jalen Slauson is an NBA player, and I'm taking him in every opportunity I get the last couple of months. I think Jalen Slauson is an unbelievable guy. From just an NBA intangible standpoint, I don't want to step on the piece coming out tomorrow, like I said, that I have written with some other folks, but I had his pick, or I had it at an even numbered pick, and I took him at 56 to Memphis, which is why I was smiling when Memphis had the pick a few minutes ago, and I would have been just as happy with him going there if I had the choice. I'll land the plane. I mentioned earlier about Najee's standing reach and some other things earlier. I got a chance to see him in Raleigh when Furman came to play NC State. And I haven't seen a lot of guys catch a ball outside of this. And when I say square, let me just be clear. I don't mean the rectangle that the ball gets banked off of. I mean the actual rectangle of the backboard itself. He caught the ball outside of that rectangle and dunked it on a bad pass. It was one of his only 2 points the entire night. He had 8 assists, 6 rebounds, some other things. Just completely versatile. Just every year we all have guys, and this is my guy. And I'm going to take him because the Clippers can play him on night one in the NBA.
I love that.
I love him.
Awesome.
You put me on to him before the tournament, and he was exceptional in their 2 games in the tournament.
It's my guy.
Just a really good player. He's one of those guys, Swiss Army knife type of guy. He's a good shooter. He can handle the ball for his size. He's a well above average defender. He's one of those guys that no matter where he gets picked, he's going to be looked at as a steal. I'm definitely there with you. I think I have him in the early 30s on my board.
Which is completely fair. 6'6.5" wing height, 222 pounds, which I think he can improve upon. 6'11.75" wingspan. 5-year player at Furman, and a really good system that was very friendly for his style of play. They basically used him as this jumbo pick and roll handoff player. It was just an unbelievable fit. So,
wow,
for sure. And that's the draft.
What a way to close it, Trev. What a way to close it.
We do. Thank you.
Wow. All right, so there's our mock draft on what we would do in these situations.
Anybody surprised that anybody fell? Was there any surprises really quick, just out of curiosity?
Let's see.
Honestly, I knew you were gonna pick Jalen Slauson when you started talking about a player that can contribute to winning and stuff like that.
I said it
but
12 minutes ago.
So that description also fit Chris Murray. I was surprised Chris Murray wasn't a first round pick. Another guy is Leonard Miller.
Another guy
Yep.
that I really like,
Yep.
I'm not surprised that he fell, but like I think he should be taken in the back end of the first round. I think it's Jaime Jaquez in my personal
Yep.
I
opinion.
was thinking about
he got a
taking
green
Jaime
room
Jaquez
invite
for
literally 2 hours
Charlotte.
ago.
Yeah. I did a mock draft on my Twitter like a week ago, and I picked Jaime at that 27 pick to Charlotte, and people were like, "Why are you taking Jaime Jaquez there?" And I was like, "Bro, Charlotte needs some guys who
Yes.
can contribute to
adults.
winning basketball and
Yeah.
just aren't a project player who could come in and contribute right away."
Yep.
So I wouldn't be shocked. I think that might be the pick at 27. Definitely wouldn't be shocked if he's a first rounder.
Yep.
He's a winner. He's a
He
winner.
should be. There's
He
not
literally-
much what he can't do.
He literally got the green room invite like 2 hours before we started. So,
Really?
Yeah, he did. He got it, and he accepted it, and he's going to be there. So something tells me he's going in the 20s. I don't have any information on that, but
should.
just he's going to be a first round pick, and I think his kind of value, which is why I asked this question. I think it's just good to see who we're surprised. Chris is a big one, like we said. Like I just. If I'm Sacramento, I'm taking Chris Murray. But neither here nor there. I think that was the only fit left that really made any sense. Litter Miller, whoever said that, great point there. Also, another guy that got a green room invite that I'm not shocked as a first-round pick is Olivier Maxence Prosper. He's probably going to get picked in the 20s, and it'll shock a lot of people.
I was thinking
Julian
about him for that
Strother.
Portland pick at
Good one.
23.
Yeah, I would have loved that fit. Julian Strother, City Sissoko, all guys that are kind of
Thought
floating
the
in and
same
around that
thing with
area.
Strother.
Really quick thing about who we were talking about just a second ago before that. Noah Clowney's another one too. Just throwing
Noah
that out there.
Clowney, yep.
We were talking about somebody, and I was going to say something about it, but
Jaime Jaquez?
thank you. Yeah, Jaime Jaquez.
Yes.
He there are so many. His value has been all over the place this year. It's definitely risen. Don't get me wrong, but like I've talked to folks who I trust, and I'm like, look. I understand, like, there's something that he's going to do. I just don't know what the NBA skill is just yet. I think if he's just a work his butt off guy in the NBA, I think he can succeed, and I really do think that's probably what he ends up doing. And then, like, the Heat would be a great fit. I just don't know if they take him at 18, that kind of thing. But I've had people tell me that, he's a top 15, top 17, 18, whatever, done that late lottery, early first, or late first pick. Then I've had other people tell me that he, they put their scouting, their scouting eye on that, or whatever, their scouts promise that he's out of the league in 3 years. Wow. I'm like, it just seems like such an extreme range.
I can't see that. I can't see.
I can't
him
either.
being
I
out
can't
of the
either.
league.
He's too
Like,
smart.
I'm not high on him either. I'm not that high on him. I have him. Let me make sure. I have him at 44 behind Brandon Podziemski.
exactly where
So,
I
like,
was,
yeah.
44. So
Neither here nor there. Not to spend 15 minutes on Jaime Jaquez.
yeah.
but I just
Before
wanted to
we
throw that out
before we transition, I'm gonna ask, and Trevor, you're gonna have to repeat yourself because you literally just said this. But who is your one my guy in the 2023
there. I
NBA
have another
draft
one. That's
for TikTok? I'll get it started. My guy's GG Jackson. It's
Love
been
it.
GG Jackson the whole draft cycle. Like I said before, I just think a guy who's the youngest player in the draft class with that shot making potential and ability is going to succeed in the NBA. I think the way the league is going, transitioning towards being more of a wing friendly league, I think he's going to have a long and successful NBA career with multiple all-star appearances.
Does he have to be a sleeper?
No, just who's your guy?
Who's your guy? Got it. Go ahead, Charles.
I really like Amen Thompson. He shows, watching his film, NBA star potential. I feel like in my opinion, very athletic. Depending on where he goes, I really hope it's Houston. That's where he went in the mock, right?
No,
Or
I took him at 3
Took
to
him at
Portland.
three.
Took him in 3 to Portland, yeah.
Well, depending on where he goes, I think we can get some really exciting basketball, especially if he gets paired up with Jalen Green. So
Yeah. Shout out to Ryan Hammer. Trev, I know you know who Ryan Hammer is. His comp for Amen Thompson is Tyreek Evans, and I love it.
I like
I
that.
think that's such a great comparison.
It's also not giving him unrealistic expectations, and I
Yeah.
think it's
True.
beautiful. Love Ryan.
Yeah,
That's my
Very
guy.
true.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Ryan's such a stud. Great guy.
on the Ringers like mock draft thing, they had him. He has shades of tall John Morant and a beanpole Zion Williamson.
Kevin O'Connor also like doesn't have a filter on his draft stuff, so neither
Kevin
here nor there.
O'Connor's draft stuff is hilarious,
Funny.
dude.
It is honestly incredibly
love it.
funny. It is incredibly funny. I've had this as one of my open tabs this time. I'm just reading what Kevin O'Connor says, and it's just honestly hilarious. But my guy for this for the 2023 NBA draft is Derek Lively. I think
Love that.
honestly, it's so simple. I think at his floor, he's going to be one of the best rim protectors / offensive rebounders in the entire league, just off his motor alone. Not to mention that in workouts, he's actually shown a workable jump shot. And obviously, workouts don't mean anything, but I do think that he has the work ethic and he's going to put in the time and effort to honestly make that jump shot a positive asset for an NBA team as well. So,
For sure. He was the number one high school recruit for a reason. And he's another guy who played a majority of the college season hurt. I'm pretty sure he didn't start the college season. Like,
No,
he started the season
he did
hurt.
not.
So
I'll give you this since he's your guy. I really enjoyed him this year from you mentioned some of the stuff, just the intangibles, things that he's good at. And I'll give you this. He's a hard worker because I saw him in December. I don't know how bad the injury was, just from it was bad enough that it obviously kept him out, whatever that was, like 4 games, 8 games, whatever the beginning of the year was. It wasn't a ton, but got to see him in December in a road environment in the ACC in person, and he looked befuddled. Granted, they were down by 31 at half, so that, the team looked befuddled. But and then a world of difference to see him in February in person in Durham. Like, he worked his butt off to get there. I got to see some of the stuff before the game, being there early, but just seeing some of the things that he's working on, that we saw the video of the shot, we saw some of the the things that he's doing in these settings where you're just like, wow, he's really working on that before a college game at 5:30 on a Tuesday, right? Like, just seeing some of the things like that really impressed me with Derek Lively. I don't think there's any bad pick of him or any fit, because I think he'll find a mold as a rim runner, shot blocker, but I think he's got an unbelievable motor, and I think that's something that people are going to be impressed with.
he had like 8 blocks or something like that versus
Against
UNC.
Carolina? Yep.
Yeah, when we played them, he gave us hell. That was not a fun game to watch.
yeah, I like him a lot. I think he's going to turn into a great player.
Also, a really underrated passer. Played next to Kyle Filipowski, who is a very good passer, and they would throw all kinds of different things to each other within 10 feet, and it was beautiful. I mean, the game I went to,
that game versus UNC, he had like 4 points, 6 points, or something like that, and he was by far the best player on the floor. Like, it wasn't even a question. So
you can clip out my Jalen Slauson rant right there just a few minutes ago, but I think it's fun because, like, you can also have, like, if you just had to say, like, I have a guy every year, like, I think we all have one, right? There's always a guy we've always liked. Last year, for me, it was Mark Williams. I was just I had him 9. Most people never had him higher than 15, that kind of thing. I think you can also have guys in different tiers. So you mentioned, does it have to be a sleeper? I think it's a great question, right? Like, Jalen Slauson is very clearly a sleeper, right? So you can again, for TikTok, however you got to cut it up, you just use that if you want. But I think every tier of guy, or every tier on your board, can have guys. Like, I love if I had to give you an answer for TikTok, Jarris Walker is my answer. I absolutely love Jarris Walker. Had him, like I said, 3 on the board since basically late February. Jalen Hood-Schifino is another one. Gigi Jackson, I have him in the lottery still, so I would call him a guy at that point for me, just somebody I believe in. I think it's just a belief factor. Dariq Whitehead would be my answer most of the year. Never really wavered. 15th is where he kind of ended up. But and then you obviously start reaching down into the bottom. You've guys like Nathan Mensah and Demoy Hodge and a bunch of names. Adam Flagler. Yeah, actually, funny. Glad you said that. Really fast. You talked to me about him. I think it was either off recording or right at the end of the pod you did with me. And he ended up at 57th on my board. Previously was somewhere in the 60s or unranked, because I just hadn't done enough research. And again, to make it into the top 60 when I originally started with 194 prospects, I mean, I'm happy to say he deserves to be there. So great one on Flagler. I just wish I knew his wingspan. Literally not a single person on the internet has his wingspan, and it's really annoying. Pretty sure it's 6'9", but neither here nor there. That's all
right.
Who you got, Chris?
I said my guy already.
Yeah. GG. Yeah. Nice, man.
So now what?
Solid.
Congrats to everyone that got drafted today.
Yeah.
In the first round.
Yeah. Round of applause for them. They definitely earned it.
All right. So aside from being drafted, how about being traded? And with that, Bradley Beal got traded to the Phoenix Suns for Chris Paul, Andrew Shaman, a bunch of seconds, and probably 1 or 2 pick swaps or something like that. I'm gonna be honest.
Hey, man.
Everyone's like,
Jordan Goodwin and Isaiah Todd too.
Yeah.
I love the Jordan Goodwin part of that move. I completely forgot to mention him. I actually do love the Jordan Goodwin part of that move. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the entire NBA, to be honest, and he'll be able to get rotational minutes there.
Everyone's hating on this trade for the Suns. I don't get it.
It costed them nothing.
It costed them nothing. Like, yeah,
but he's not the
depth.
answer.
They need depth.
And now,
yeah,
how are you getting that?
But you traded for an all-star for nothing, basically.
I'm not disagreeing.
You do that every time.
I want to hear what you guys all have to say, and then we could dive deeper into it. What are your initial thoughts on Suns trade?
So they were gonna waive Chris Paul if they couldn't find a trade for him, right?
Yes.
I think that was merely to get this thing moving, but that's neither here nor there.
Regardless, let's just say they were gonna waive him because that's what I heard. So you're paying that contract anyway, right? Because you have to waive him. You have to buy out the contract, right?
15.
But then Bradley Beal, a guy who led the entire National Basketball Association in scoring for a full 82-game season, is available to trade for pretty much that guy who you were going to cut from your roster. I understand the CBA. I understand paying 3 guys pretty much 85% of your cap isn't a great look. But say they didn't make this move, what was the move? I know it's easy to say, get some depth. What is that depth?
No, I agree. And I get that. I understand that it's because, look, if this is in front of you, if you have this all-star sitting in front of you, hanging in front of you for basically nothing, why not? And I agree. I don't hate the fact that they traded for Bradley Beal because it costed nothing. If it costed assets, legitimate assets, I would have hated this.
That's about to say, if they traded their depth for it, yeah. But like they didn't have the depth to trade for it.
Because my thought process,
this wasn't the guy.
My thought process on it is, yes, we wanted them to trade for depth, but I don't really think they were ever trading Chris Paul for that depth. Chris Paul, from what I know from my own evaluation, had pretty much negative trade value. The only reason this deal got done was because Bradley Beal got to handpick where he got traded to.
Oh, yes. That's another thing.
Yeah. If it wasn't Bradley Beal, they weren't getting the depth they needed for Chris Paul. They were, in my opinion, they were always going to get the depth they needed from trading DeAndre Ayton in some type of 2-for-1.
And I still think that's a possibility.
I think that's very likely, honestly.
It's going to happen, most likely, I would assume, because I don't think Ayton is long for the Phoenix Suns, and truth be told. No. But aside from that, I still feel this handicaps you so bad now, though. That's my only issue. The only other person under contract at the current moment is possibly Cameron Payne. If they pick up the option, I'm pretty sure it's a team option.
Campaign.
But outside of that, then it's Jordan Goodwin. And now you have nobody else. Like, yes, I do think they will have a shot at bringing back guys like Jock Landale, Torrey Craig, potentially anybody else on vet minimum, sure, but that handicaps you and restricts you entirely. You can't use your MLE. You have nothing, no tools to potentially build out the rest of your roster except for vet minimums.
Yes,
with
but
the
now
new
you have
CBA.
Bradley Beal on your team.
Are they better than the Nuggets?
I mean, no, you can't really say that. They just won the championship.
I think they could beat the Nuggets. They
Nuggets.
Took the Nuggets to 6 with no Chris Paul. Now you have Bradley Beal.
Okay, fair
I'm not
enough.
going to say they're better, but they could beat them.
I want to hear what you have to say, Trev.
So I was going to end up zagging anyway because that's how I feel about it. But like asking the Nuggets question after they won the NBA championship, like they're not better than the Nuggets. Like it is what it is, and assuming the Nuggets retain Bruce Brown and some others, but. To even ask that question.
You see what Michael Malone said at that parade?
Yeah, which is good. I mean, look, that's insurance you need, right? You want to bring back a guy that was one of the best players on your championship team. I mean, it's all things considered that was a fact. But so the Bradley Beal thing is so interesting because it really just comes down to how you feel about Chris Paul. I honestly think it's that simple. And that deal, calling it nothing, it is what it is. It's nothing. It's Shamet and picks, and then Paul was the reason the deal gets done because there's money there, right? I ultimately think that there's no emotional attachment for Matt Ishbia to anybody on this roster other than Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. I would feel differently about this trade if they made this trade and instead of Kevin Durant, right? Say they never made the Kevin Durant deal, right? They'd still have Cam Johnson. They'd still have Mikal Bridges. They'd still have some picks, right? And I think Bradley Beal as a secondary, obviously positionally as a 3 isn't really funky there with Devin Booker and Chris Paul. But you're talking about where the depth comes from. Also, you don't have to make this deal in June, right? Like, this is a deal that could have very well happened. Bradley Beal has a no-trade clause, one of only 10 players in NBA history to ever have a no-trade clause.
Ridiculous, by the way.
Spoiler, he's the worst one on the list, regardless of the 30 points per game on an empty stat team, right? So I have never been as high on Bradley Beal as most, right? He obviously showed some really good flashes when they made the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs with John Wall, and they were forcing John Wall to basically shoot, and Bradley Beal had to just be the secondary playmaker on that team, and he looked really good, right? That was the only time we've ever seen any kind of pedigree from him, right? Other than, again, I take what the 30 points per game as you want. But I think it puts Phoenix in such a terrible position because regardless of this apron that the next team, looks like, right? Or the next CBA looks like, you don't want to be a team that puts you in ridiculous cap hell. And this is what this does, right? Like, you're not going to, just because you have Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, you're not going to have teams just continue to be like, yeah, we'll take this guy on a exception. We'll take this guy on a veteran minimum, right? We've seen that the last couple of contenders, this is almost impossible to do consistently. And I've been holding this in for a few days, right? This Bradley Beal thing, I just chose not to comment publicly.
I'm not even laughing at you. I'm just laughing.
No, he's crawling under the table, right? Yeah, it's all good. He's already said his piece. But at the end of the day, like, it's a ridiculous move, and I don't think you need to make it in June because you could have made this deal later on. And honestly, I think Chris Paul could have gotten you anything that you wanted for a reasonable price later on the year. But
I agree.
Again, the trade deadline is in February, right? Bradley Beal has no trade clause. Just because he says he wants out in June doesn't mean you have to give him what he wants. And Miami very clearly wasn't going to overpay for him, which should speak to the value of nobody right now other than what we thought of Miami, what that came out. I don't think a lot of people were just breaking down the doors for Bradley Beal like we originally
Nobody
thought.
was, especially with that damn contract.
If they weren't, or even if they were, excuse me, the point is he wasn't going to allow it, right? So it sounds like it was just full control. And I don't believe the Kevin Durant stuff at all. I don't think that Kevin Durant was wanting him there. And then a random photo of them on the same court in the same corner of the gym in USA basketball like a decade ago, like whatever.
Praised him.
Right, that's
fine.
fine.
Do that with basketball players. Like, come on.
At the end of the day, I think it cripples them more than it should, and I think there's a deal waiting to happen. The problem is Ayton's value is kind of the key here, where Ayton is going to be the piece that gets him that depth. The problem is I don't know what team is going to pay him because that contract's also ridiculous. So
I was about to say that. Who is going to give up 2 rotational players for DeAndre Ayton right now?
That was a long thing, but at the end of the day, there's so many moving pieces to this that you have to think about like what this is going to do. Like, from a talent standpoint, like, I just hope that this is, and again, if he's willing to just be like, I'm good with being the third option on a team, that's great. I love that because at the end of the day, you're not taking the ball out of Devin Booker's hands, who took you to a finals or helped take you to a finals, and you're sure as heck not taking the ball out of the top 25 guy all time in Kevin Durant, right? So you're clearly going to have to go from being this 30-point per game scorer to a guy that's going to be your third best player on, and honestly not a very great defender. So
this is exactly what I was going for when I was saying before, and what I think about this trade in general. I just don't think this is what you needed personally. And I mean, you were capable of doing more things, even if Chris Paul did stay on the roster, because he isn't making as much as Bradley Beal is. But yes, I do think it would have been a Chris Paul trade, and you could have gotten 2 rotational pieces from that trade, in my personal opinion. And then not only that, I think you could have flipped Ayton for the same thing. I think there was a world where this team could have been going into next season. Well, you just unplugged my headphones at bare minimum.
You're good.
Now we're good. Relax, bro. You're pulling my thing. But
pause.
You beat me to it. But look, Bradley Beal is not a good defender. At best, he was an average defender. He's not the playmaker that you necessarily need, although he's very capable of being a good playmaker. All 3 of these guys are. But you could have had Kevin Durant and Devin Booker with, like, not a third star, but like a bunch of different guys that on any given night could have given you to 15 to 20 with more than passable defense. And I think that was where they messed up. I think now you've handicapped yourself way too much to the point where you can't make any other moves unless they're the vet minimum.
But who knows if the deal for Chris Paul was there for some role players?
They're going to have
him. They're going to have even look. You just immediately.
They had to look.
They're going to have a mid-level exception this year.
They will.
Do they?
Yes.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
So here's one thing to take consideration too, because people say this about Kevin Durant all the time. Kevin Durant hasn't played in more than 60 games in a season since 2019. Bradley Beal has also done that same exact thing. And that's a little worrisome from a just sheer one-to-one talking about injuries. Devin Booker's had his problems recently.
How to say that
as well. And I love Devin Booker to death. I'm probably the biggest Devin Booker fan that's ever been on this podcast. But I want to really just let me throw out the trade clause. Yeah, probably, right? For a guy that's in my division, I shouldn't like him that much. Let me read the 10 guys on the no trade clause thing and tell you why we'll never see one ever again. I want to just hammer that point for a second. Shout out to The Athletic for this. This is the 10 guys in NBA history that have had a true no trade clause where they are the only person that could change the outcome. I saw this
list too.
David Robinson, Hall of Famer, top 75 player. John Stockton. There's a theme here. That's why I started with that. John Stockton, Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, and Bradley Beal. I think we've seen the last true player-controlled no-trade clause in NBA history.
Oh, my God.
And that is this trade should tell you, regardless of what you think of Chris Paul, like I made the point of earlier when Trunks decided to crawl under the table. You missed part of it. So the point I'm making is whether you think Chris Paul's value is what it is, like you said when you came back, it might not have been there, whatever, right? It probably was. Ultimately, we've seen Chris Paul get moved when the contract was that bad. We know the contracts are irrelevant at this point, even with the new CBA. It does concern me, though, because they are literally going to be in cap hell. And it gets to a point where, as long as, look, no new owner syndrome, we know this stuff happens, right? We've seen it with new owners recently. Again, this is why Charlotte is not off the table of anything happening, because new owners there taking over for Michael Jordan. Obviously what happened with Alex Rodriguez in Minnesota as well, stuff like that, right? So we see these owners come in and want to make their stake and make their claim, and this is just something that I could understand Kevin Durant at 1 a.m. in the middle of the season like that, or whatever that was, but I can't. This trade I can't defend it.
I'm honestly surprised that more players don't get no trade clauses.
I'm not. I think they should not be allowed. I think the team you play for a team.
I completely agree.
I feel like there's a number of players in the league that I wouldn't.
I think you stop it. Maybe
I think
you go
LeBron,
Giannis,
Jokic.
Don't
Steph.
put Luka in there.
You put Steph.
What about Embiid?
Don't put Luka in there. Don't put Embiid in there.
Not Embiid. You put
Kawhi, maybe.
Arguably KD.
So it's basically the All NBA first team. Like you're basically just saying the best 5 guys
in the league. Yes.
Yeah. Why not? Luka?
I just don't understand why. I just don't understand why guys should have it.
Luka's been an All NBA first team player for 5 years now.
Because all the guys I just listed have won titles.
Yeah.
Every guy I just listed has won a title.
Yeah, there's just no way to quantify why or why not one guy wouldn't, because Luka definitely should deserve one. I'm with Chris on that, but I think none of them should have one. To be completely clear on that,
I also agree with that.
Again, I know the player empowerment era got to a point where it was in the last few years when we saw all those big threes just kind of spur and everybody can do what they want. I do think ultimately you still do play for a franchise, right? You're not devaluing a $6 billion franchise like you are with Phoenix in this case, right? Like the Phoenix ultimately still has the control. They're the team in the position to go move Chris Paul, who would have thought would be unmovable from a team like this, but at some point whenever he was obviously leading them to the finals. But this is the same team that, moved every bit of what they had left to get Kevin Durant, 3 hours after they got a new owner. So I'm not shocked by any of it. And ultimately it's, again, neither here nor there.
Agreed.
It's going to be interesting.
I'll end on this. How would you say that Chris Paul isn't tradable? He's able to be waived for $15 million, and then he's off the books after this season, right? So that's my thing. You're telling me a team wouldn't be willing to take that on, waive him for $15 million and not have to worry about it after that?
Well, a team did.
And you can stretch it.
But that's why I'm saying there definitely was more of a market than you're making it out to be. I firmly believe that.
A team that's trading for Chris Paul isn't trading for the being able to waive him for $15 million. There's two sides of the spectrum.
Or potentially, yes.
There's teams that would trade for him to play for them, and you're taking on a $40 million contract. And there's a select few teams like a Utah, a Washington, that's
maybe OKC,
which it happened already. He literally played for OKC.
Exactly. I think OKC's past that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
OKC would rather use that $15 million to sign guys to take them from a play-in team to a playoff team.
Fair.
There's really not that many teams. There definitely is teams. Like I don't think Washington is
There's
the
potentially
only
other
team
teams that
who
are
would-
blowing it up this offseason.
Yeah, I don't
too.
think Washington is the only team who would have been willing to take on Chris Paul, but I do think the list is very short.
Okay.
The
Fair.
list gets bigger the further we get past this too, because again, I don't think this trade should have been made in June. I think they could have made
Agreed.
the same deal in November, and honestly, Washington probably could have gotten more in November.
I'm with
So.
you.
Yeah.
100%. But
yeah.
All right. Is that everything?
In other news, the Stockton Kings, Sacramento's G League affiliate, became the first G League team to have a female head coach and GM after hiring Lindsay Harding and I don't want to butcher this name, Anjali Ranadive on Tuesday. So congrats to
Vivek's,
woman.
Daughter, probably, or something like
I
that.
wish it was. I wish Becky Hammond was the first NBA head coach. but
Yo, she
it's
deserved
so
it,
sad.
bro.
Yeah, but now
She
she's
deserved it.
coaching a super team.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
She still
True.
could be the first one. It
She
hasn't
can.
happened
She
yet.
could be hired up. Yeah. for
She
sure.
won the ring with the lib.
Didn't they?
Well, no, she's the Aces.
the Aces.
coach.
They already won the
Yeah,
ring. They
no,
won
no.
last year.
Hey man,
Oh, I'm
Steve
bugging.
Kerr's taking over for Greg Popovich in San Antonio when he's done though.
I
So
could see it.
Makes
maybe.
too much sense.
Spurs are reportedly giving Pop another 3 to 4 years. I saw.
Seen
it's
that. As
it's
they
on
should.
him.
Yeah.
He will be there
Yeah.
for as long as he decides to be there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's that.
Especially now that they're getting Victor. I'm sure he'll be there for a while if he wants.
Pop's
All
going
right.
until
So,
he passes.
Trunks,
But-
what do you got for us? Let's
All right.
move this along.
Blind rank these NBA drafts without knowing which one's coming next.
All right.
All right.
There's 5 of them.
There's 5 of them.
All right,
All right.
let's write it down.
I
First
can't look up really fast. I can't look up the draft to confirm the guys in it. Right.
I have the top 3
You
picks
could,
here.
yeah, you
Okay.
could look it
I'll
up.
say
There's,
the
there's
top
no
three
rule.
All
I'm
right.
ready.
First up, the 2014 NBA draft. The first 3 picks were Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, and Joel Embiid.
And we are. This is a collective, or is what we would do?
This
Collective.
is us three. You, me, and Chris. Where we would play.
2014 draft.
Oh,
That's the
shit,
one with
that's
Nikola
the Jokic
Jokic.
one.
I was about to say. I was like, we need to get
Jokic,
this right.
Joel Embiid, Andrew Wiggins. You got
Zach
Is this
Levine,
Zach
Julius
Levine,
Randle.
Julius Randle,
Is
Clint
this in
Capella.
the entire history of the National Basketball Association, or is there a
Past
cutoff?
decade.
Past decade?
Oh, that's good to know. Okay, I was gonna say, how many are these 5?
Past decade.
I think it's a safe number 3 because
Jeremy
you're
Grant's
getting
another
a ton
one
of.
here. Wow.
I think 3 or 2 is probably safe.
I'm
'cause I think
saying
there's probably
2,
a
bro.
value.
You
I'm
got
good with
Joel and
2.
Jokic.
I'm
They're
good with
both top
2.
10.
I'm good with 2 because I think
Once
there's
that's
too much
right.
value later on that happened in this draft that just it would be dumb not to.
I agree, Jordan Clarkson, but yeah, for sure.
All right,
2.
so
Joe
two.
Harris. Joe Harris was a second round pick as well. Spencer
Mhm.
Dinwiddie. This is crazy.
Didn't shitty.
Jordan Clarkson. God.
Cal Kuzma.
Next up, the 2017 NBA draft. First 3 picks were Markelle Fultz, Lonzo Ball, and Jason Tatum.
I really hope you.
putting that at 3.
I hope you don't. I really hope you don't have any in the last 2 years because I just don't. I don't know if this is gonna make that hard not knowing who it is. I know it's the point, but
2017, Jason Tatum, Jared Allen, Bam, De'Aaron Fox, Donovan Mitchell, Lauri Markkanen. Okay.
Cool putting that at 3.
I
I would also argue putting it at 4.
was about to say I would put it at 4.
That's
would.
fine with me.
There's a ton of really good drafts, and as long as he doesn't throw out 2 more crappers, I think we might be okay with 4.
Yeah, I'm putting it at 4.
Third up, the 2018 NBA draft.
1.
First 3 picks were DeAndre Ayton, Marvin Bagley, and Luka Doncic.
Yeah, it has to be. It's and Shea. Shea is in this too. Luca, Shea, Jaren, Trey. I don't think this is better than the 2014 NBA draft, in my personal opinion. But
You know,
It's
who
not
we
better
got?
than put it at 3.
The last 10 years would cut us off at what, 2013?
yeah.
So that means it's so here's the smart thinking. Even though I don't think this is probably the right number 1 answer, I just clicked through all of them just to make sure before I say this. 2012 is out the window, and that had Anthony Davis, Damian Lillard, Bradley Beal. That's a really good draft class. Chris Middleton, Draymond Green, Andre Drummond. So I think 2012 would probably be better.
Yeah, this one has
But I think we have to give this one 1 because unless you're giving it to Ben Simmons,
That's what I
Sabonis,
was
Siakam,
thinking.
I think I would
Yeah,
have to say
it has to
2018 is
be
probably
1.
1.
Michael
Yeah.
Porter Jr.
I don't love it though.
No, me neither. I would have put the 14 class over this looking back at it, but this is number 1. Yeah.
You learn from it, yeah. Damn.
Next up, the 2016 NBA draft.
I knew it.
Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram, Jalen Brown.
So we really should have because we had 3 MVPs in the 2014 class.
Yeah.
That's 3 MVP awards in the last 5 years that we should have given it to. Dang it.
All right. I mean, look, Sabonis, Siakam, Jakob, Bertel, Brandon Ingram, obviously, Jaylen Brown, DeJounte Murray, Pascal. Yeah, as I said,
That's a fair 3.
it's a good
So
3.
I don't hate.
Wait, hold on. What do we have left though? What do we have
That's
left?
it.
Oh, we have
Last-
just have
No, we
three.
have
Oh.
one more. We have one more. This is going at 5 no matter what now.
Oh no, I was gonna. I'm giving you. I think this should have been 5. 2016 should have been 5. I thought we had 5
honestly
left.
thought we only had 3 left. So what do we have at 4 again?
NBI, Jaylen Brown. We have
4 you have 2017.
Yes.
God,
Oh
that's
yeah,
so
I'd
bad.
put
Yeah.
this one at 5.
I would put this one at 5 too. I would put this one at
2017's
5 also.
better than this draft
Yeah.
Yeah.
with Fox, Tatum, and all those
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, yeah.
I would
100%.
not put this draft at 3.
Yeah,
5.
100%. My bad.
That's why I
my
was
bad.
holding my hand up. I should have said it, but yeah, 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is going at 3 no matter what.
Yeah, whatever
Yeah.
this last one is.
And number 3 is the 2013 NBA draft.
I knew it.
Sold.
Anthony Bennett, Victor Oladipo, and Otto Porter.
Fuck.
Yeah,
the
but
be-
there's an
the best
MVP
3
in that draft.
guys. Yeah, the best
Yeah,
3 guys
Giannis-
though. It's bad.
Giannis, Rudy.
The only 3 All-Stars are Giannis, Rudy, and Victor Oladipo.
Victor
And then if you
Oladipo.
go off of win shares, it's
Steven
Giannis, Rudy Gobert, and Steven Adams. So yeah, we definitely fumbled the bag.
Jeez.
For sure.
Hey, at
Yep.
least we get Cody Zeller
That's a fun and blind
and
ranking.
Contavious and CJ McCollum. This ain't
And just stretch.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Blind rank these NBA draft outfits without knowing which one's coming next. So Trev, just look up.
I was gonna say this is the part where you put it on the screen, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to StreamYard.
So the first one is Bull's 2019 draft outfit, the spider web suit.
I remember that
First
one.
of all, I already know what's going number 1 because there's no way we do this without bringing up Kevin Knox's Fortnite suit. So that one is Kevin Knox is going number fucking 1.
All right, so Bull.
I think it's ugly, but like, I mean, 4 or 3, I'm fine with.
He rocks it. He looks
does.
good.
Let me see.
My girl met Bull in Orlando one time.
What?
Really?
Yeah, like
Nice.
Burberry store or Gucci store or something.
I actually
Honestly, I personally,
I don't like the web.
I'd put it like 4.
That's what I said 4. Yeah,
I would put
I'll
it
go with
4
that.
as well. I'm
Yeah.
with you.
All right.
I'm putting it 4.
There's got to be a worse one.
All right, next up, a classic LeBron James's draft outfit, the
Oh.
baggy all white suit. Very clean, a little bit baggy, but it symbolized the 2003 era of clothing.
I was about to say the
See,
baggy
yeah.
stuff worked for then.
Back then
Back
it
then.
worked. Now it doesn't. So
And the black tip shoes too.
I was about to say
Yeah,
that
the
those shoes are
black tip.
clean.
I'd put it 2.
I
would-
would say
Yeah,
3.
oh,
I would
I
say
would
3
say
because I think there's
3.
probably 2 better.
Yes,
All right,
I
you
agree.
can put it 3.
I
I'm fine
would
with that.
say 3. I think LeBron's outfit is 3,
All right,
even
3.
though it's iconic.
There's one more I hope Chris gets to. But
All right, the next one is Tyrese Halliburton's flower suit.
I think if I remember this right, I really liked this one.
This is very nice.
Draft outfit.
I feel like it symbolizes who
Oh, I love
Tyrese is as a
this. I
person.
I like that we're all over the board with these
I love
eras.
this.
too.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I can't get my Google to work.
I
Oh
would-
yeah,
I'd love this. I'd put this 1
2
personally.
or 1.
Like
2 or
I
1.
don't know. Could we get better?
I'd wear
We
this
probably
to
could've.
prom.
Yeah, me too. I would too.
Yo, and
this is
it's
something I
got
would wear.
and it's got the message on the inside of it's
Mhm.
1. It's 1.
920 to the league. Yeah, I have to. I don't feel good about it at 1, but that is kind of cool to
love
have
it.
your. And it's got Black Lives Matter on the other side too.
Yeah,
So
it's-
trying to
it's
support
1.
a cause. So yeah, let's go 1.
Indeed, I gotta give it to him, man.
I don't want to get canceled. So
Facts.
Fair enough. All right, the next one, I had to put this one out. Had to put this one on there. My guy Trey Young's short suit
Mm.
with the burgundy.
is 5 still available?
See, I love the color that he had. I hate the shorts though.
I think the shorts are so cool.
I think he's not the guy that can pull them off.
No, you can't.
I'm sorry.
Ew.
Is 5 still available?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I would put it 5.
Thank you.
Personally.
Thank you. Literally, I Googled Trey Young, and I literally have no recent searches of him, and draft outfit is the very first
Look,
result.
it's definitely not 2. That's all
No,
I'm
it's
saying.
not
So
2.
it's
It's gotta
going
go 5.
I think the
I
color.
this is clean.
I think if the color was more out there, like Draymond's was for the NBA awards ceremony, I think I would have given it 2. But
I like the color though. Like if
I
they were
don't know.
pants,
I think the
It's
shorts
up
are
there.
cool.
I'm looking at his NBA awards thing. His
Draymond?
fucking suit here for finishing second for rookie of the year for Trey Young. Trey Young, his suit is clean. It's blue. It's nice. He's got the little
Yeah, but
chain
this
on
isn't
there.
about that.
yeah,
I know, but that's what I'm saying.
All right.
It's fucking ass.
we're going 5.
All right. At number 1,
Please, please.
Kevin Knox's Fortnite
Yes,
suit.
it's number 2 actually.
Let
but
me
let's
say that
go.
without you fucking yelling over me. At number 1, the last one, Kevin Knox's Fortnite suit.
Let's get it. 2. I wish we had the first spot available.
Fuck.
I really do.
What was number 1? What did we end up having at 1?
Tyrese Halliburton for sure deserves
We'll
to be
take
number
Yeah,
1.
I would
But
rather get
Kevin
it.
Knox is Fortnite.
That's a dub.
Man.
That
I
goes
think there's
over the
some really
top.
good ones out there too. I think there's some ones we've left off. Like I know Chris made the list. There's some really good ones, man.
Yeah, those were
Yeah,
just the first
sure.
ones I thought of.
Oh, I like that. That's a
I'm
good way
not
to do it.
sad Be on
That's
there.
a good way to do it. Yeah.
It's so stupid.
It's
Wasn't Tim
perfect.
Duncan's kind of wild? Tim Duncan had a wild one, didn't he?
Yeah,
I feel like Jonathan. I like Jalen Green's. I know I'm not. That's
Jalen
not my
Greens.
kind
I
of-
was
Jalen
thinking
Greens was
about
fire.
with the jacket with the double button.
Jalen Greens was fire.
Jalen Rose had a good one too.
Johnny Davis's I really liked as well.
Yes.
So,
another good one. Yeah,
after that, it's like I mean, you're just picking straws. But
I can't believe Kevin Knox wore a Fortnite suit. Whatever, man.
Greatness.
All right,
It's
well,
iconic.
that's everything, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, real quick, huge shout out to our sponsors over at SeatGeek. SeatGeek takes the complications out of buying tickets as they rate each score on a scale of 1 to 10, with green being a good deal and red being a bad deal. Use our code BallGamePod for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Again, that is BallGamePod for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Thank you so much to everybody over at SeatGeek for partnering up with us. We do appreciate that a ton. All right. Well, I think that's everything from us. So, Trev, let these people know where they can find you.
I always hate doing these things. Add 2 pointers on Twitter, at Trevor Everett on Twitter as well. Spelling is funky. Just go to the bios of one of those 2 pages. You'll find them.
We'll put it in the description probably.
Also got some really cool stuff coming. House-enterprise.com throughout the summer. Trivia Showdown is coming back this summer as well. I will be mass recording those, so I can take off a month and a half probably, give or take. So, and this is my formal invitation to you guys to. I don't know how we're gonna make 6 people work, but we're gonna make it work. Shout out to StreamYard. I think you have a max of 5 on the account I use, so we'll figure something out. But I'd love to have you guys on for Trivia
Would
Showdown.
love to, bro.
Be a lot of really good fun.
Absolutely love to.
So that was my kind of play of plugging Trivia Showdown and also inviting you. So
Thank you.
yeah, a lot of fun stuff coming. House-enterprise.com. You can also find me on as well. Shout out to House Enterprise.
Love it. Trev, thank you so much for coming on, man. Really do appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
And with that, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, follow us on all of our socials. And now with that,
Ball game.